Tuesday, February 10th. I'm John Ostman, Chair of the Orleans Planning Board. I'm joined today by our Vice Chair, Debbie Oakes, our Clerk, Mariah Lestage. Lynn Eichholt is on Zoom, and Peter Polimas is here in person. Also with us today is George Meservey, the Director of Planning and Community Development. And on Zoom will be Elizabeth Jenkins, Assistant Director of Planning and Community Development. So first item on the agenda is public comment. And I don't see anybody for public comment here. Anyone online, Peggy?
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 2. Communications. George, we have anything?
Nothing that's not on the agenda for further discussion.
Okay, great, thank you. Third item is the joint public shade tree hearing of the Planning Board and Tree Warden, Eversource. Circuits 4-83-83 and 4-89B-89B and 4-628-628. And I'll have our clerk read the public hearing announcement, please.
Thank you, John. Here we go. Public tree hearing notice, Town of Orleans Planning Board and Tree Warden. The Orleans Planning Board and Tree Warden will jointly hold a hybrid public hearing at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, February 10th, 2026 at the Orleans Town Hall in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 15, designation of scenic roads relative to cutting or removal of trees on such roads, and Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 87, Section 3, cutting and removal of public shade trees. The public hearing is in response to a request by Eversource Energy for its 2026 Vegetation Management Plan, including pruning trees on electric circuits, 4-83-83, 4-89B-89B, 4-628-628. The following designated scenic roads are included in the work area: Bridge Road, Rock Harbor Road, South Orleans Road, Freeman Lane, Brick Hill Road, Gibson Road, Tonsett Road, Snow Shore Road, Mill Pond Road, Priscilla Road, Nauset Heights Road, Hopkins Lane, Main Street, Meeting House Road, Great Oak Road, Beach Road, Barley Neck Road, Pochett Road, Eldridge Parkway, Shoreview Drive, Aries Lane, Monument Road, Herringbrook Way, Namaquoit Road, Portaminicut Road, Quonset Road, and Tar Kiln Road. A copy of the application and maps of areas proposed for trimming or removals may be inspected through an appointment with the Orleans Planning Department, Orleans Town Hall, 19 School Road, Orleans, Massachusetts, Monday to Friday during the hours of 8:30 to 4:30 p.m.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Breathe.
I'll take a motion to adjourn. Mary Wright has joined us also. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
George, please continue.
Sure. This is an application which any seasoned members of the board have seen one or numerous times. This is an application just for maintenance trimming by Eversource of 3 sectors, which are large sectors and cover a significant portion of the town. There is no removal proposed in of any trees. This is for brush cut only up to 4 inches diameter breast height. This is to maintain wire clearance, and Eversource, I think to their credit, has adopted a 4-year cycle instead of a longer cycle in which they have to prune back even harder. So we have had a fairly good experience with this. This is a joint hearing with the tree warden. So I would recommend that you ask the applicant to just come up and describe the work, answer any questions, and get a recommendation from the tree warden.
Please do.
Where are you from? Over here?
Either way.
Anywhere? Sorry for making you read all that.
No worries.
It can be a mouthful. Yes, so our 2026.
Oh, please introduce yourself for the
Yep,
folks. at
Jordan
home.
Young, arborist with Eversource Energy. Our 2026 vegetation management yearly operation plan. We do have 3 circuits. George was correct. It is a large portion of Orleans. We've had, in the recent years, we've done some circuit consolidation and just reconfiguring to help with reliability. So there is a lot of pruning to be done this year. our specs are 10 feet to each side, 15 feet above. That is what we aim for. As George said, there will be no removals. We will, as we're making our way through these circuits, we will be evaluating trees. Ones that we do feel are a hazard and should be removed, or we would like to remove, we would permission those with the homeowner. We would then come to the planning board, or I would first go to the tree warden, get his thoughts on it. If he approved, I would come to you guys to try to get those, approval for those removals, which we do intend to do this year, to try to get some removals. But as far as this meeting, just tree pruning, no herbicides, strictly mechanical cutting on the roadside.
Okay. And the swath is 10 feet to a side, 10 feet below, and 15 above
Correct, from the primary wires.
from the primary wire.
Correct, yes, yes.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you for doing that. I think it assumes that therefore the chances of power staying on improves dramatically, so.
That is the goal. Tree-caused outages are the leading cause of power outages in New England.
Lynn, I think you have a question, please?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, in the materials, it says New Hampshire has a less distance, I think 10 feet versus 15, and I just wanted to ask if the 15 feet that's what we've always done, and it's been fine, or New Hampshire has a different, less aggressive approach, and I just wanted to ask about that.
Yep, so all those specs were all approved by the regulators in each state. We have always done the 10, 10, 15 out here for eastern Massachusetts. We have a different spec in western Mass, different spec in New Hampshire. The New Hampshire regulators don't care about reliability as much. Massachusetts, we care about reliability. So the 10, 10, and 15, I feel it's very necessary to get to at least that clearance.
Other questions from the board? Any other comments? George, you have anything?
No.
Tree warden?
Do you have any comments? No? Well, thank you very much. I don't think there's no vote involved, is it?
Oh, no, I think, Tim, it's been pointed out, I just want to point out for the record that the tree warden has authority over public trees and public roads. So if he determines a tree is a hazardous tree, he can order it removed right off without a hearing. So that is some of the leeway that I think we need to do good work. And, I know Tim and Jordan are committed to working together, and Jordan will be working with the tree warden right on through. If there's any questions, he'll go to him. So we have an agent on site for this work as it's progressing.
Excellent. Good. Thank you all.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have to close the hearing?
You need to close the hearing, then you need to take a vote
Or we do need to take?
on the application.
Okay. All right. So I, first of all, take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Need a second?
It'd be a roll call vote, of course.
Okay, yes. All those in favor, we'll take a roll call because we have Lynn online. Lynn? I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Peter?
Yes.
I'm Mary
Ray?
Bright.
Mariah?
Aye.
Aye, John Osman.
John, I'll note that there were 5 voters, and Peter is still an associate with 5 members present.
Oh, we do have 5, that's correct. That's all right. Okay, and then the next vote, so the hearing is closed, and the next vote is to accept the Eversource plan for pruning. And I'll take a motion to accept,
So moved.
and a second.
Second?
Thank you. And all those in favor, we'll do a voice name count again. Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
I'm Mary Wright.
Mariah?
Aye.
Debbie?
Aye.
John Osman, aye. Okay,
Righty.
good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. And welcome, Francesca. Next next item is the comprehensive plan update. George, where do we stand?
The empty promises made by me 2 weeks ago that you would have a hard copy of the plan in your hands prior to this meeting. There was a publishing error with the delivery of the plan, so working with Ty and Bond to have it corrected. And they have promised to, how do I say this delicately? They're out of budget and are unwilling to print 20 copies of the hard copies of the plan. It's not in the contract. The contract was for a digital plan. So they have agreed to reproduce the action plan, which was a page off. And I think as you all have looked at previous drafts, if something's a page off, the two-page setup table just is unreadable and unworkable. So they'll produce that and insert it into 7 copies, so the board members will all have copies before them. The online version, Lynn, I hope you opened it up. It has been reposted, and it's in a format that it basically takes the front page as a single page, then it's 2-page throughout, and everything lines up. And it looks, I gotta tell you, it looks much better when it's all lined up.
A question about the online version. Has the previous draft been taken down?
Yes.
And so the only one that's available online right now is the current, let's call it final draft.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's the 2026 plan, yes. So when we have those, it seems reasonable that the board would like to have some discussion about it, make sure you're comfortable with it. And process-wise, if you want to talk about process now, we were trying to schedule with the select board to come to your February 24th meeting. That is your next meeting, at which there would be a presentation of the plan. We'll actually get the plan up online on the laptop so we can move to any page we want to, and just give the select board a briefing on what we hope is the final plan and what it includes. Under the, as I said last week, the Cape Cod Commission regulations don't require a public hearing on this. We've had a lot of workshops, a lot of public input. They do, however, if you look at the Orleans Home Rule Charter, there's a requirement that the planning board shall develop a plan and bring it to town meeting after a public hearing. So we have not had a formally noticed public hearing yet. So, John, I've taken the step to send an advertisement to the Chronicle for a legal ad for a March 10th hearing. That's 2 meetings from today. We could have that meeting. We'll have probably the same presentation we bring to the select board and walk it through and see if you get the same turnout or more that you got from some of the workshops. I think there's a reasonable satisfaction certainly among boards and committees and among the people we've heard from, because we're not getting a lot of people turning out at these workshops. But just so you're all aware, I think there were 50 pages of notes, comments, and edits the last time we went through this effort. So we have gotten a lot of input. I think we've got a plan that's in pretty good shape. So today's the February 10th. The 24th could be a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Chairman and I just discussed whether we need to have a special meeting to just go over the hard copy and make sure we're all comfortable with
I
it.
think because we haven't had a chance to really sit and deliberate this thing a little bit, and we haven't had a chance, some of us haven't had a chance to go through a hard copy version of it yet. And again, it is online. I've been through the one online at least once. But I wanted to talk to the board about the idea of having a special meeting next week. And the only subject of that meeting would be to talk about the comprehensive plan, because we haven't had a chance to really deliberate, to talk about it, to go through it and decide, how complete we are. Is there anything else we need to do? And also in preparation for hopefully a joint meeting with the select board the following week at our next regular meeting on the 24th. So how do you all feel about getting together for a meeting next week, next Tuesday? And the time is something we can talk about. But I think that my personal feeling is, and I'm open to discussion with the board, my personal feeling is we need a meeting to talk about the plan.
I think it's smart to do that before we go in front of the select board. Just to get all of our ducks in a row and to make sure that we're buttoned up and ready for that.
And then the meeting with the select board would be the
24th?
That would be our next regular meeting.
It's tentative, it's not confirmed yet.
Yeah, we haven't firmed that up yet, but that would be, the preference is to have them come to our meeting, because if we go to the select board meeting, we're, bookended by other events during that very long meeting, and 15, 20 minutes with the select board is not enough to be going through this plan. So it is, I think, more important for them to come see us in a much more time-open environment. And so that's what I'm aiming for. So I've communicated with Kevin to see if we can make that happen. So what I'm suggesting here, today is the 10th, that a week from today, on the 17th, we have a special meeting of the planning board that we would post as a regular meeting, or as a special meeting, and we would do nothing but talk about the comprehensive plan and make sure we, as you say, have our ducks in a row. So my question to everybody is that date, will that work, and what time would work?
I have a question about the process in that case, because as George mentioned, we're out of the budget for implementing changes through tie and bond to the plan. So any change that we feel that we want to implement after our conversation is something that we will do on our own. Is that right?
I think there is potentially one set of edits of the digital version only that we could get from Tie and Bond. So,
Okay.
so that could be, whatever the planning board thinks, plus the select board later, and the
Okay.
public hearing, all that wrapped into a final version available for town meeting.
And then would the town print hard copies of the?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to have hard copies for you by the end of the day Thursday. So you pick up anytime Friday. That's my next promise. And the digital version is already up there. So Tie and Bond is we had an agreement for the things that they would do for us, and that does include one more digital version. But I've been talking to the corner office and Amanda Converse, and she's got some money. They have just about completed their branding effort to rebrand how we portray the town of Orleans. And since that's finally arrived at a kind of a complete state, we'd like to incorporate some of the colors, some of the branding motif into the plan. And we've found some money to use a new graphic designer. I'll be getting a copy of all the raw files that were used for the plan, give that to somebody else so we can really customize it. And that's the place where, Debbie, some of the photos or images that are maybe out of place, or there's a duplicate, we can make those adjustments as well.
Right.
Yeah, so
And
it's never as easy as you want it to be.
I think that, we're probably past the wholesale major changes in the plan. I mean, we've got a plan that's beautiful to look at and certainly has wonderful content. I think that there's probably some deliberations we would have concerning maybe executive summary and that sort of thing, which are much easier to make. And I would say that would, be something we could incorporate in the next, our last digital change. But I want to get back to us being able to have some space, like next week, to go through this. And I wanted to get a schedule, something that works for a majority of you, so we can get that posted and scheduled.
And we know that this time is not available,
Right.
right? We
Late-
can't have a room, so it
After
has to be
4 doesn't
earlier
work
in the day.
for that day.
Okay. So I would try to entertain Tuesday if we could do it. And Monday, I think, is a holiday.
Right.
So, right, Monday's a holiday, so town hall's closed anyway, so. I'm open to other days, but let's start with Tuesday and see if that works for anyone.
I'm flexible before 3:30.
Okay. Is the morning better or afternoon better?
Morning would be better for me.
Yeah,
Morning's fine.
open in the morning.
Yeah,
Morning?
well, the only thing I have a 9:30 PT set up.
Well, we don't want to get in the way of that, but
Like
when will,
11 maybe?
when will,
I'll be done by, I could be here by 10:30.
so how does, well, I'm one that would go earlier, but
Yeah, I could go,
do that.
yeah, we
I
could.
don't want to drive people
No.
here at 8
We do
o'clock in the
8.
morning, so.
8 AM, not
Prefer not.
7:30?
Prefer not.
So how does 11 o'clock sound? Does that work? Will an hour or so be enough?
That'd be great.
I won't be able to do 11 o'clock because I have meetings for work, but I could I could email it my comments.
Well, I don't, I want to
Could
see
you
if,
do?
Could you do 10
could you do 10?
or 10:30?
I will need to leave here by 10:30
Oh,
to work.
All right.
that's the only
Maybe
time it's
9.
available.
Yeah.
9?
Can we do 9? Can we do 9?
It's fine with me.
Yeah, do 9. I'll leave, but I'll review it beforehand if I have anything,
Okay.
questions.
Debbie, can you do
Yeah,
9?
that's fine.
George, can you do 9?
Yes,
Morning.
I'll get the meeting posted if it sounds like it works.
Lynn, will you be available at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
Great, perfect. So let's have it at 9 a.m. Next Tuesday, February 17th. And can we have this room, George?
Skakit room,
Skake it, right?
unless you have a wetland filing.
No, no. Okay. Sounds good, because that'll give us some space to review the plan again between now and next week, and then to have some healthy discussion about where we are and get ourselves ready for the hopeful joint meeting with the Select Board the following week. Okay?
Great.
Okay. Let's move on. The next item on the agenda is the Municipal Vulnerability Program. And Elizabeth has joined us on Zoom. How are you?
Hi, folks.
Good.
I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to come to the planning board and introduce you to this project. The town received a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant from the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs to look at ways that we can knit together the public spaces downtown to help create a cohesive network of green infrastructure tied to Town Cove. So this is an effort sort of rooted in building resiliency in public spaces and looking at town property that we have now and thinking about ways we can incorporate green infrastructure and other ecological improvements, both to improve the quality of those spaces from an environmental standpoint, but also in terms of how they serve the public and how those spaces interact with downtown and people who live and visit here. Over time, the Town Cove area in downtown Orleans has been highly altered by commercial development and roadway development. And one of the things that I heard when I got here, that people felt largely cut off from the water, like there was no strong connection between the sort of economic environment downtown and Town Cove. So the idea here is through an engineering lens, through looking at drainage patterns and stormwater that flows into the cove, how can we restore some of those lost systems and at the same time restore some of that physical connection between people and downtown. So just wanted to, again, introduce this project to the board, let you guys know that it's going on. I think it has sort of a strong planning component in terms of our overall thoughts about building walkability downtown, building a resilient community, and the downtown revitalization effort, to let you know it would be ongoing for the next probably about 18 months. And we are going to put together a working group for this project. Again, not sort of a formal board, but just a group of volunteers who can help sort of contribute local knowledge to the project. As I've started to research and get into this, there have been a lot of projects like this, both from the engineering and planning standpoints in the past, sort of bring that knowledge to the project as well and help connect it to other people. So we can make sure that we are doing something, I think, meaningful and aligned with all the other projects that are happening here. Again, both from the economic development standpoint, from the public placemaking standpoint, and from the stormwater and sort of public infrastructure standpoint, because we do have a number of projects there that are happening. And I don't want to say in a disconnected way, but I think this is a great opportunity to really think about creating a sort of a holistic vision for that town property along Town Cove, really sort of focusing from the Windmill Park area down to meadow on the cove on the south side. So again, we have a working group coming together. There are a couple of folks from Conservation Commission who are going to join, a couple of folks sort of, again, focused on the bigger, and with some history, with some of the bigger planning efforts that have happened downtown. But if anybody wanted to join from the planning board, it would be a pleasure to have them on the working group as well.
So are you looking for a volunteer, or do you want someone voluntold to?
No, again, there's no sort of mandatory makeup of the working group. So, and we have great participation already. So, it's not required that we have a volunteer, but if this sounds interesting, we hope this is going to be a very well-organized project. We have a great team of landscape architects that we are working with on this, who have some great experience in ecological restoration and ecological design, that are really excited to come on board. So again, if this speaks to anybody and you're willing to do 7 or 8 meetings with this group, we'd love to.
When do you meet, Elizabeth? When do you?
We haven't established that yet. We're hoping maybe we can get in a meeting again as soon as the end of this month or early March. But we haven't pulled and set a time. We would like to try to set up sort of predictable times so everyone can have those on your calendar and we can plan going forward, but very flexible at this point.
So I would be interested.
That's good.
I'd be interested from a placemaking, from, connectivity standpoint, from that sort of, planning, architectural, that I'd be interested in that regard.
Right.
From that standpoint.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board for Elizabeth?
Yeah, I was going to ask,
Lynn?
and I'm glad Peter said that he would sign on. How much of this is sort of what I call aesthetic and public use kind of things versus engineering and groundwater, et cetera? And when I read it, I wasn't sure. Now you mentioned we've got landscape architects, which tells me it definitely has a public use aesthetic perspective, not just an engineering one. So, but I just want to get
Lynn,
sense.
I think
Yeah.
your question tells me that you really get it. I mean, we're trying to blend those two things together, right? We are trying to, I think, do something, when I look at the town properties that we have along Town Cove, and when I look at, again, sort of how I perceive as a participant in our community, I see a lot of opportunity for aesthetic improvement there, but we want it to be rooted in something that's real. So we do have a team of landscape architects, but they are also working with DPW's stormwater contractor, who does all of our stormwater work, EDR, on the project as subcontractors. So our consultants will be, again, I think a group they're called Dodson Flinker. I've worked with them before, very talented, a lot of vision, great sort of public facilitators as well, but working hand in hand on the initial part of the project with engineering consultants. So I think as planners, we try to make sure that we sort of keep the vision rooted in all of these engineering projects. But it's a blend of both.
So at the end of the day, is what should come out of it sort of a plan for how the town might develop and use the waterfront along Town Cove? Is that sort of some landscape, hardscape plan of some sort?
Yes, but when we say development, I think through the lens of not necessarily private development and building, but again, through ecological improvement, landscape and stormwater design, and again, as Peter says, building that connectivity and sense of place along Town Cove again. But also, I think, there could be a strong economic development component in here. We have a working group participant who used to run sort of ecotourism type of activities on the Cove. So the thought of perhaps bringing some of that activity back to the waterfront as well.
Thanks.
Francesca, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Is there any overlap or potential overlap with the kind of outcome that you're discussing from this group with the design guidelines that you all were discussing last week that I know that
So
they're
it's
different, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a blend between your public and your private, right? Those are really private development design guidelines, which I do think one of our goals is to help sort of build some, and there are, and not our goals because it's in there already, but, you know, I think there are a lot of pieces in there that speak to low impact design and proper stormwater management and native landscaping and all of those things in those private design guidelines. One of the deliverables I hope we get out of this are the same types of guidelines, but for public spaces along both along our road right of ways and our publicly owned spaces. So you can kind of think about them as sort of landscape design guidelines or stormwater design guidelines for our public spaces.
Okay. And in terms of like making sure that, like, even though they're kind of two separate groups working on the guidelines, it seems like you and like the planning board are kind of in the middle. So in terms of like creating a cohesive design for like the space of the town between like the public and private spaces, I don't know enough about like the industry. I imagine what they've come up with and what like the people we're working with come up with might be pretty similar, but is there is there, I don't know, is that something that we need to be paying attention to make sure that there's enough like overlap in terms of the design guidelines that are produced, or do you think that like naturally they'll end up there?
I think one of our broader objectives when we think about all of downtown Orleans is creating more cohesiveness and continuity, whether that be through building design or landscape design, you know, public space development and wayfinding. So yes, I mean, I think overall we, you know, us folks as planners and probably you as planning board, you know, has that sort of objective of working towards that more cohesive sense of place downtown. So I do think, again, as we start to integrate, you know, get down to the details and integrate palettes and designs, that yes, I mean, we'll be cognizant of bringing all those themes together.
Debbie?
Yeah, I think you're kind of skirting, Francesca, and we're around the connection between the design guidelines, the public-private spaces, the public realm altogether, and the master plan, which is the other piece that, if you want something more to do, Elizabeth, that we haven't really done, and that this whole connectivity from place to place and creating nodes of activity, of various activities, is part of what would go into a master planning kind of process if we imagined the whole town and how things might flow, and that flows right to the water. So I don't know where that leaves us, but I think that's something that has been missing from all of our work, actually. That maybe if we're kind of coming at it after other things have already happened, and especially with the housing overlay district, and but I advocate for doing some kind of process around that to develop some shared idea and not just have things being developed piecemeal.
So for the downtown, I'm sorry, John, if I can. So Debbie, if I can
Yeah.
just sort of expand on that, because I think it's an important point. So you sort of for the downtown area in general, so maybe revisiting some of those earlier plans, like the reset plan that I think was done maybe back in about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's since we've had that sort of comprehensive study of downtown. Is that sort of what you're implying?
Yeah, maybe those plans, but now we've also got the housing overlay with the idea of the larger lots being developed in a certain way we think maybe might happen, we don't really know. Then we're gonna talk about how the smaller lots can be developed, and we've got the library, and we think the library might be where it is now, but maybe the library will be someplace else. And Maybe we don't want it to be someplace else. Maybe we want it to be where it is right now. We haven't thought through. And, you know, when you talk about like Window on the Cove and connection to the water, this is something we've completely lost. We have these very small little literal windows, but you can hardly get to them. They're not used. And yet if you stand there, and you'll like this, Peter, if you stand there and look back at towards the town, there are some really clear lines of traverse that in theory could happen. Maybe they did, maybe they were there in the past and they've been lost, but we might want to bring them back. And that's that's what I'm thinking about when I think about the idea of a master plan, that you have, you know, residential here, and it's not just use like old zoning, but also you have anchors placed at different parts of the town. So that becomes their destinations, and those anchors can be public art. They could be an art center. They could be a community center. It could be a playground. It could be anything, but we haven't gone through a process to think that through and look at where we are today. And what if some of this actually happens, then what? Like, what else would we like to encourage happening and where?
I think on that note, there's a map in the comprehensive plan that I found that I really liked that kind of showed, I think, what currently exists, but also like what we could build into in terms of future development throughout the town, that showed kind of different areas and like what currently is there and like what might be able to grow into. So it's interesting that I feel like maybe we haven't like spoken about it directly, but I do feel like it's part of the plan in a way.
I have a question for George about this, is that this sounds to me a lot like what might be called a campus plan, where it sounds like GIS layering maps and that sort of thing of what could possibly be the what-ifs that you do in a sort of a designated area. And I'm wondering if that's something that, you know, somewhat as an outgrowth of the comprehensive plan, and something that the planning board might get itself into with the planning department later on, is an examination of Orleans from a GIS point of view, and how we might take a look at areas like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a very interesting exercise, you know, noting that a lot of our land use ethic has been set and established, and is probably pretty acceptable for the most part. But, you know, I think what Elizabeth is talking about here is taking a fresh look at our public spaces to see how we can utilize those, because those are the ones the town of Orleans controls. Right. We've tried to put together good regulations for appropriate development, at least with regard to housing, in the downtown. And so that we kind of, the private sector has to now invest in those things. But if we can start look at, first, where does all the stormwater go? And there's a lot of stormwater plans that have been done and worked on, but it's a historically, you know, fits and, you know, surges kind of thing that's not well coordinated. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for things that are just latent downtown in the public realm that we can use to make, like you said, the traverses where you might actually see the cove if we do it right, and feel connected to the downtown.
Mary?
I think that Francesca brings up a good point of, now that we've finished the comprehensive plan, right? What are the implications of having said, these are things that we want to do? And so, you know, and understanding that there are pieces of this that have been developed. So we did do the overlay. We are talking about this stormwater piece. I think it's probably time to, again, go up that, John, sort of that 10,000 foot view. We don't have to go up to 30. And just, or maybe it's the 2,000 foot view, to sort of say, okay, what is it really that it looks like, and what are the implications of what we've said in the plan to what we really want the town to look like? So I think it's probably it'd be a good, it's a good segue to sort of think about different things. And I think, Elizabeth, I think this is interesting. It's a great way of looking at it. And I think obviously you're thinking about what are the implications for other parts of town now that we're going to put this together. So I think it's great. My only thought was, certainly I would think that somebody from the yacht club is going to be very interested in what, and what they're saying, because they're looking at that and probably saying, how is it that we're part of those issues? And how is it, and talking about that public information, I would think that the people at the yacht club are going to be people that you're really going to want to buy into whatever it is that comes out of this, because it will only enhance their location. So that was my only thought as far as who might be very interested in understanding very much in detail what you're talking about here.
Right. Very helpful. Yeah, and in terms of the larger sort of downtown planning exercise, we've been talked a lot to the board about this, but George and I have been talking about sort of how we could seek designations through the commission to, maybe again, further streamline some of our development activities. And as part of that, one of the things they want to see is that, I think, very coordinated look forward in terms of how you are going to approach growth and improvement downtown. So I think we might have a project that could sort of help line up all of these efforts and ensure they stay coordinated going forward. But
Great.
we can talk more about that next time.
Elizabeth, anything else? at this point?
That is all. And again, thank you so much, Peter, for joining. The working group, again, will be a more concentrated effort, but we're going to have at least 2 large public meetings to sort of bring the bigger community, all of those property owners and boards. So we'll make sure to keep the planning board updated on those. We're going to have a couple podcasts, so we'll let you know when those come out as well. But I think this could be a really fun project, again, through a very interesting planning lens, and I'll keep you updated as we go through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to our next item, review of planning board fees. George?
Yeah, this is exciting.
But so necessary.
Nothing like a spreadsheet to make your day.
The board has committed to reviewing its fees annually to see if they should be changed. So I gave you an 11 by 17 yellow copy of a spreadsheet done by a previous planning board member who worked for Xerox and did us a wonderful favor. And this is an attempt to quantify what it costs the town of Orleans to review a subdivision or to conduct a site plan review for a site plan. I'm not going to ask you to get deeply into the numbers here because I think that would be fruitless, and some of them are not updated. But I guess if we just look at the big spreadsheet, you have on the left-hand side, it says planning board, fire department, police department, et cetera. That was an estimate of the staff hours it takes to review a project. Then you go down to the next set of rows, and we tried to estimate the staff costs per hour for reviews of projects. So, when we do a subdivision, it takes, Karen Sharpless spends, 45 minutes doing legal ads and getting all the notices done and distributing all the copies, all those things. We tried to build what does that actually cost for those. Don't worry, I'm getting to a point here. The next one down is sort of our fixed costs for advertising and certified mail and stuff like that. And if you go down about halfway down the page, it says total town costs. And so we've estimated, and this is a little outdated, admittedly, but for A&R plan, for a definitive plan, a preliminary plan, all the way to a site plan review, we tried to estimate, calculate what the town's cost is. And what's interesting here is the last time the planning board did this, they set a benchmark to say, well, there is public value and benefit in the town having good, well-conceived projects before they go forward. So the developer shouldn't necessarily have to pay 100% of the town cost of the review. Now, some people may look at it differently and say, developers are coming into the town of Orleans, they got to pay for the business they're doing. So it was a 50% recapture rate here, and we probably actually set our fees on the low side of that 50% at the time. So I think that's the point of discussion. Going a little further down, We estimated the average events per year on a 10-year basis, and that is way out of date. We do not have 8 approval not required plans per year. We have like 2.
Like two.
Definitive plans, we have 1.5 per year. We're just, right now, development activity, land subdivision is a minor part of the town's development. So the suggested fee in green down there are the fees that were set in 2022, and they have not changed since. So those yellow, the yellow boxes with the red numbers, everything across there are the fees that we presently charge. You will note, although it's not your responsibility, we do not charge for site plan review. We think it's in the town's best interest to have prospects come in and meet with town staff on an informal basis and get all the information they need for what is required to get a permit. And it gives us a chance to give feedback before a project is finalized. So we haven't charged at all for that. Some towns charge $1,000 for a site plan review. It's probably not an outrageous amount of money, depending on the size of the project. So I think I would just ask you to consider whether you think the town should recoup 100% of the cost of doing business, 50%, or some other number, and whether you think it's useful to change our fees at this stage. You can see at the last thing I'll say here is we looked at the fees that other towns charge, and that section at the bottom of the page has been updated. So there are a couple towns that charge significantly more than that, but most charge about the same or a little bit less.
So George, the first question is the column or the row that says suggested 2020 fee.
Actually, it should be 2026.
So it's 2026, okay. So that's the current fee that we have, and the bottom numbers, which are the comparisons to the other towns, are the current numbers.
Yes.
Okay, so this is not 5 years old or anything
Right.
like that.
And I was going to put the effort into updating this, but I wanted to know if you have an appetite to spend a lot of staff time on this, knowing that the total number of applications is pretty low.
First of all, in the aggregate, it's all small numbers anyway,
Right.
number one. Number two, and I know who put this together, and I know how thorough he is, but one of the questions I would have is, these, you may count the hours right, but the cost per hour is probably not a fully burdened rate. And so we really don't have a full handle on that number, and that number is probably a lot higher than these numbers.
Those hourly numbers need to be upgraded substantially. At the time they were done, they were a fully loaded rate. We took a percentage as benefits for every salary.
Sure, yeah. So that's what you want to have, is in order to have an analysis to decide where you really are, you really need to know what your costs are.
Right.
And so the hours may be right, because that probably didn't change, but the hourly rate, I'm sure, has gone way up.
Right.
Yeah. So my opinion at this point is that I would not take a lot of staff time. We have plenty of other things to do with our time. And this is not significant money. And also, number one, that. And number two is we don't want to have, let's call it, any sort of barriers to, the kind of developments that we're all looking for, like businesses wanting to come in and get some things done, and, just simply to ask you questions in the informal and the formal site plan review are so helpful to people coming in here, and for us to be throwing numbers around right now is so irrelevant to me anyway, that I have no interest in throwing up barriers. Well, I do want to understand what the costs are, and at some point, we need to figure out what the fully burdened numbers are.
I think before we bring this back next year, we'll get update all the labor costs and any other pieces that need to be looked at.
My
Easy enough to do.
opinion, I'll definitely entertain comments from the board, but my opinion is we have the numbers updated and we look at this next year. But right now, I think we have so many other things to do that spending any staff time on this is not worth.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also say that if we get to a point where we do have more people wanting to do projects, because of hopefully, because of the overlay district. And, right now, it's such an insignificant number, the aggregate number. It seems crazy, but if that happened, then, everyone wants to come here. Maybe we look at the cost and we.
That's a market force we want to have.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
problem we
But in
want.
the meantime,
Exactly.
I agree with you. I wouldn't do it.
I'm just glad to see that
Ms. Mary?
cost accounting that I took in graduate school was actually worth something. I'm very impressed to see it keeps coming back to me as being, I now understand how these tables work. It's great, it's great.
Lynn, do you have any comments?
I agree with you.
Good, okay. Any other comments from the board? George, let's update our numbers at some point, but let's table this till next year.
Sounds like by consensus, we'll keep the fees as they are for another year. Okay, good.
Do we need to vote on that, or is it just?
I'm fine with that. I didn't hear any dissenting.
Okay.
opinions.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from the meeting of January 27th. And I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second? Second. Okay. If no discussion, we'll do a voice vote. Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
Mary Wright, aye.
Mariah?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
John Osman, aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda are future agenda items.
If I may, John, the things that we've established, just to run through the list, is next week, February 17th, 9 a.m., a special meeting on the comp plan. February 24th is a tentative meeting with the select board as a planning board meeting to present them, brief them on the plan. And then March 10th is a public hearing that is set on the comprehensive plan.
Very good. Okay. Anything else that you can see on the horizon here? for
There's
us?
nothing I put on here yet. We've got a little list, in-house list that I'll make available to you.
Okay, great.
Sorry, what time is the public hearing on the 10th?
A regular planning board meeting time,
Thank you.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Okay. If nothing else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second?
Thank you, and we'll do a voice vote. Lynn?
Yes.
Mary
Mary?
Wright, aye.
Mariah?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
John Osman, aye. We are adjourned.